You're watching All About Money on HKIBC. I'm Isabel Wong. Well, the global cancer industry is worth around $1 trillion US. Every year, more than 500,000 women die of breast cancer. And over the past 20 years, the incidence rate has tripled in Asia. Here in Hong Kong, breast cancer is the most common cancer among women, with statistics telling us that about 10 women in the city are diagnosed with breast cancer every day. But one Hong Kong-based company aims to make it less profitable for the treatment industry by empowering women to detect breast cancer sooner. Let's bring in Rob Royea, Cyrcadia Asia CEO. Rob, welcome to the show. So, now that we have got some pretty alarming data coming out of Asia, can you tell us, why is it so bad? Why is the breast cancer rate rising so much here in Asia?
Thanks, Isabel. It's really an alarming rate when we think about that, that breast cancer is really on the rise in Asia. When we stabilize that, across the world, we have less breast cancers here, but it's growing rapidly because of change in diet and lack of follow-up exercise, and also late time of having pregnancies. So the change here is really escalating at a very great pace, and it's important that we try to find cancers earlier.
So many women see when they are diagnosed with breast cancer, they see it as the worst news ever. It's almost like a death sentence. So does that have to be the case?
Absolutely not. So when we look at what happens with breast cancer, oftentimes it's a very late diagnosis. And the assumption is, if I get it, I'm going to die. The reality is that if, in fact, we can find cancers earlier, we can have an over 90% chance of survival, which is phenomenal. It's just that we don't get there early enough.
Right. So I know that in Cyrcadia, your company, that you guys aim at helping women, empowering women with early detection of breast cancer. And can you tell us more about your product and what are you aiming at doing here in Asia?
Yeah, great question. Our role is to really help the medical community have another choice. The current choice is imaging. The future, as we see it, is able to go into what we call physiological change or metabolic change, which we know tissue is changing very quickly once cancer cells start to invade the tissue. So our avenue is to ensure that we are solving the issue of earlier screening from the physician standpoint and then into the general population.
So what exactly is your company doing to tackle that problem?
We are producing and now will be releasing an early breast cancer screening technology that fits under the woman's current garments today and allows a woman to have the privacy as well as the peace of mind that she's screening for her own breast health much earlier than if, in fact, she had to wait to see a physician.
Mm-hmm. So can you show us your product?
Sure.
How does it work?
Happy to. So the technology that we have, this is what's called the iTBra for the intelligence of women who wear it, as well as the intelligence of the technology. This is our last clinical device. There'll be a new one that's releasing in early 2019 that will look somewhat different. Wires do attach to a small recorder that goes onto the bra. This goes underneath your current garment. There's one on each side. This is a device that then communicates through your smartphone into the cloud to a very intelligent back-end analytic core lab. And then the information will come out directly either to the woman who's wearing it or possibly to the physician who's prescribing it. Depends upon the choice.
Mm-hmm. So you just mentioned the product is connected to a smart device and then the data will be sent to the cloud. So basically you're monetizing the largest database about women breast cancer, that kind of data. So there's a concern about privacy. It could be an issue. So how does your company ensure that this won't be an issue?
Yeah, it's really critical. So not only is this a private issue, but we also want to make sure that the data is private. So we anonymize the data. We work through very smart core labs that have a high degree of security. And immediately upon utilizing the phone, the woman's numbers are all that we see. The ID is what's called de-identified.
Mm-hmm. So I know that one of your distribution strategies is that you will be working with insurance companies. But that is also one of the concerns the consumers have when they are using wearable technologies, because they don't want their data to be transferred to any insurance companies. So how is it going to work?
Well, with an insurance company, the interest level would be, can we find cancers earlier? The companies that we are talking to now know very clearly if we can find cancers earlier, it actually obviously saves lives, but it also saves the insurance companies a great deal of money. So the real outcome is that they're trying to improve the outcome for patients' lives through digital health and digital media.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of wearables, tracking performances, and remote monitoring, they are not necessarily new technologies. So what is new about your product, iTBra?
Yeah, the tracking capability is obviously, as wearables go today, pretty affluent in the market. The differential is that to do what we do takes at least 10 years of work in algorithmic progression, and then women are actually part of our study. Over 240 women have had biopsies or surgeries, and that's how we correlate, is when we actually know the state of cancer, we then can teach our algorithms to improve based upon that outcome.
Mm-hmm. So can you talk us through a little bit more about iTBra? Can those pads really detect cancers at their early stages?
They're actually looking at metabolic shifts and changes. We have clinical trials in the US that have shown that we're actually finding cancers at an early state. We don't know how early yet. We do know that the ability to find earlier cancers also has to do with the size of the tumor. We don't look for the size, but when we do find cancers, sometimes it's a very small size. So we do know that it will be at an earlier time period. Just basically by the ability to screen, we know cancers happen over time, not just now. You weren't just diagnosed and it happened yesterday. So we really know that looking at metabolic change at an earlier time period is something we can trace, and we've now proven, and then we can certainly then help you to get to a physician when it's really important.
But what about the pricing strategy? How much is it going to cost to consumers? How affordable is your product?
Yeah, in each country, we're ensuring that the price will be affordable for the general public. So as we're coming aboard, we look at the price of mammography in country, and we assure that we're bringing in a technology that will mimic that, but would also give you the ability to screen, as the World Health Organization suggests you should, on a monthly basis for about the same charge as you would pay for a mammogram for an annual screen.
So in Hong Kong, we are paying for that kind of screening for maybe about 3,000 Hong Kong dollars. So will your product be around that price point as well?
The initial product price point may be a little higher than that, but we do see our ability to come into the general market over time at even a lower price point. So it's the progression of making sure we have the physician feedback, the accuracy is in place, the pilots run well, and then once we start reaching a yield, higher amounts, the price point will come down more into the range that you're speaking to.
So how soon do you foresee that will happen? More affordable product?
The time period should be within the next year.
Right. So in terms of the more affordable price, how much are we talking about?
The price point will be between, for 12 scans, between $200 and $300 US per year.
Mm-hmm. Right. So in terms of, other than the prices, I would also like to talk about distribution. So how are you planning to distribute this product, and how accessible can they be to general consumers?
Well, we have one of the largest distribution companies here in Asia helping us to launch that technology. So we've researched to see who are the best companies that can get the word out. So we now have an agreement with a company that allows us to not only launch here in Hong Kong, but then spread that through a number of countries throughout Asia. And then that price point can allow us to come down, once we have larger distribution, in the $100 to $150 per year screening time period and cost for 12 screens.
So initially, how is it going to be distributed in Hong Kong? Where can we find it when it's distributed?
Yeah. So the beginning of the year, we're coming through the physicians. So we're working with OBGYNs now and family practitioners that will have the chance to be able to provide this for their patients. Once they have that and they're comfortable with that, then we can provide that landing place for women who want to screen on their own on an ongoing basis. So we start with the physicians, and then we go over the counter, where they could also either buy it online with us or buy a pharmacy. The next level is there's a great deal of interest from the very large garment and wearable companies to have this embedded into general fabric. So we're working with one of the largest fabricators for the main sports suppliers and the main lingerie suppliers to also build this into their products by 2020.
So who else have you shown this product to, and what are the initial reactions that you got from them?
Well, we've had this really unusual capability of being filmed with the documentary from Cisco Systems backing in the United States. They see this technology as the technology that will shift the Fitbit world on a short-term wear to a long-term wear and a sustainable health advantage. So with that, we have had walks of life from pharmacy companies to insurance companies, and most importantly, women, who we were able to ask, what do you think about this technology and would you wear it? And it's actually been very encouraging to see that women do want to have their own understanding of their own breast health, and that it's encouraged that they do want to be able to screen on their own.
That's exciting. Rob will continue the conversation in a minute.
Thank you.
Well, Rob will be staying with us, but still to come on the program. Cancer is spreading globally at an alarming rate, but is artificial intelligence able to turn things around? Do stay tuned.